Ladies and gentlemen, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome to the show Miss Liza Howard, coming to us from San Antonio, Texas, and Adam Delsman in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, just south of Green Bay. Guys, thanks for joining the program. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
Excellent, thanks. Liza, thanks so much for making time for us. We're here today to talk about a very important organization, a nonprofit that you run, Band of Runners. Liza, can you share with us what this is, what it's all about?
Yeah, I sure can. So thanks so much, Scotty, for having us on to talk about Band of Runners. We just got back from our annual trail running camp. I feel like both Adam and I are are
Still exhausted.
from that. So Band of Runners is a nonprofit that's run by trail runners, and the goal is to welcome military veterans and their surviving family members into the trail running community, and share the benefits that we all enjoy from trail running, the physical and mental benefits that running in nature provides.
And where does this trail camp take place?
This trail camp takes place in the Texas Hill Country. The H.E. Butt Foundation has a beautiful ranch out in the Hill Country here, kind of north west of San Antonio by about an hour and a half, on the Frio River. And so they provide the land, and we run all over it, and also the facilities. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. So, yeah.
That's what I hear. I saw photos of it. It just looks amazing there along the Frio River, which just looks like an absolute gem. Tell me about that terrain and just kind of what makes it so special to you.
It's typical Texas Hill Country. So if anybody's ever run Bandera 100K or 50K or Cactus Rose down here, it's that. Like, it's rocky and rough and pokey plants, hurts to fall, and just gorgeous. Like, lots of tiny little small hills, and the river. It's a limestone bed, so the water's clear, 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 and we're right at the headwaters of the Frio River. So it's just beautiful. It's like, we have some easy running and some nice difficult, challenging running. It's always fun bringing folks from, mountainous places and having them run on the Texas trails, and having them, be surprised just a little bit. So,
And, we're going to get into this organization and kind of what it's all about, why you do what you do, and the people it serves. But Adam, coming down from, the polar opposite end of the country,
Yeah.
what are your takeaways about the area that you've now been, I think, 3 years now participating in this camp?
Yeah. Yep. And actually, I think it's a little longer than that even, but no, I was just thinking with what Liza was saying. It's nothing like Wisconsin at all. It's not soft. It's not like you run into a tree here. It doesn't hurt. Like, we were running on the trail last weekend, and I brushed my hand on something, and like I was all cut up, and I'm like, what the crap? Like, everything wants to kill you and hurt you, and then there's rocks everywhere, and then the little hills that she calls little are still giant to me because we don't have those. And so, no, it's nice. It's a great variety. It's funny. I brought several people from my hometown and my area there, and they're all just blown away by what it is. And I don't think any of us expect that out of Texas, and then how beautiful it can be. And like she said, there's the river, that I learned was 35 feet deep, and like you could see all the way down, and like it's crazy. It's just, yeah, it's beautiful.
We're here to really talk about this resource, which is available for free at no cost to military members, to survivors of family members of those who served in our military, which is such an awesome gift. So I just want to kind of step back for a second and start with you, Liza. What's your connection to the military? And then after that, Adam, we'll hear from you to hear about your connection to your service to our country. So, Liza, um, why is this important to you?
well, I was an Army brat. So my dad served in the Army, and I have many, many family members who are in the military. My brother-in-law's in the military. Grandfathers, aunts, and uncles, and I did not serve. And so I think, like, everybody tries to find a way to make their running useful, because it feels like such a selfish endeavor. And so I heard Mike Irwin, who's the founder of Team Red, White, and Blue, which is another veteran organization that connects military folks to their local communities through physical activity. And so I heard him on a podcast talking about what he was doing. And so I contacted him and said, "Hey, I'd love to be involved. What could I do?" And he was like, "I don't know. What can you do?" And I was like, "Not much. I can run." And I've got these wonderful running friends, and I have a background in outdoor education. He was like, and I was like, "What about a trail camp?" And he said, "That sounds great. Make it happen." And so Allison and Jason Bryan and I, and then Joe Persadis and Joyce Persadis, we put on this trail camp down here in the same area. And eventually, Red, White, and Blue decided they wanted to do more leadership training than focusing on trail running, which is great. But also, we're trail runners. And so we were like, well, why don't we just make our own nonprofit and we'll do the trail running and allow that magic to happen. And so we formed Band of Runners from that. And so I think that everybody who is involved feels a great deal of respect and gratitude for those who have served us and are just trying to find a way to express that.
Adam, how about you? What is your connection to this camp, and tell us about your service?
Well, so I served in the U.S. Army Airborne Infantry. Um, I was I was slotted to go into like the Ranger Regiment, but I had to go through a program, and that program was going through a change. So I got just sent over to a unit where I started personal security. That's when I deployed and did some time over in Iraq, Kuwait, um, and yeah, then got back, got with the infantry unit, and eventually got out. Um, I deal with many different things from that. My deployment wasn't like the hardest thing in the world, but I still have a lot of survivor's guilt, and I dealt with a lot of suicide. Not only the feeling of suicide for myself, but seeing a lot of it while I was in the military, and that had quite a bit of effect too over time. Um, when I got to camp my first year in 2019, I was in a pretty low spot. I was about to have my second child, and I just wasn't feeling very deserving. And I had an injury, and I had had a good run of things, but just got injured and wasn't doing so well. And so I got invited to go to camp through Bigger Than the Trail, an organization out of Wisconsin, but they're worldwide now. And they shine light on mental health by offering free counseling to people who apply online. And I hadn't applied, but I had a friend who was an ambassador who got asked a question, and he's like, "Yep, I know a veteran." And he pushed me forward, and I went. And it was just incredible. It was what I needed at the time. And then on top of that, just to be camp is just such a special place. I mean, you're around these people that you automatically connect with because you know there's veterans there. And you know, you're going to connect with a veteran right away. There's just like that mutual thing, especially other guys that have been deployed and stuff. There's just you can be around them and trust them. Then there's no cell phone coverage at all, so you can't be on your cell phone. It's just you and these other guys. So you have to talk, and you actually connect and get deep and have fun, and it just yeah, it's such a great place that I couldn't stop coming back. Then, unfortunately, we had COVID, which then still it was probably a low spot for a lot of people. Thankfully, there was a lot of Zoom through Bigger Than the Trail and Band of Runners and different running organizations where I think most of us survived and we're on the other side now. But I had to keep coming back just because I think more than anything, I hope I just contribute to it now. I try to be the catalyst to open up a door for bigger conversations, and just give a speech in the middle where just kind of again opening the door, like these are my struggles, I'm open with them and you can be too, and it can help each other, and we can all grow from this too. It doesn't have to just be running camp. It can, you can leave with more.
Mm. Adam, were you a trail runner prior to um, coming to camp?
Yeah, I was actually. So I'm trying to think. I think I no, I hadn't run my first 100 yet. My first 100 I ran in 2021, but I had run um my first 50 miler. That's right. I had run my first 50 miler. It was going great. And then, like 3 weeks before I found out about camp, I rolled my ankle about 4 miles out on trail. So I was
Oh,
walking it in and I hit a hill and I rolled it again. And it was just like, it was the worst sprain I've ever had in my life. And, like as soon as you get an injury, plus it was fall time. So it was just like automatic depression. I'm never going to run again type thing. And,
yeah.
uh, plus then I was having a child and work and just all this stuff going on. So yeah. And, I was a trail runner though.
True and true all the way through. So many of us can identify with that. You hit an injury and needing that running as an outlet just to have some, part of your self-care regimen, and then not
Yeah.
having that available to you can be a lot to kind of go through. When you first heard of this band of runners, um, what was your kind of hope going into it? And then once you got in there, was there anything that surprised you?
Ooh. So my hope was, I just honestly, I was just excited to kind of get away. I knew I needed just a little separation from the family for a moment, just for myself. So I was excited for that, selfishly. But also I was excited because it was a running camp, and I was kind of hoping like, oh, okay, like I can learn a lot here because I was very inexperienced. I was working my way up to 100 miles. I'd only hit 50 at that point, which I was proud of, but it was rough, and I'd like to see how to do it a little better. And
Mhm.
so I was excited for trail running camp. What I was shocked by was the connections I made, the terrain I encountered, how beautiful it all was, and then the counselors. Like I didn't I didn't know anything about trail running. I had done it, but I didn't know of people or races or any of that stuff. So when we were leaving, I started realizing like I had the names of counselors written down, and I started looking them up, and I noticed backpacks that were like around me that said like US Olympics and stuff. And I was like, what the hell? Who are these people? And then I was blown away by like the people that I was surrounded by and how amazing they were and how willing. I had learned so much my first year. I mean, without the advice they'd given, well, without band of runners, I went to run the my first 100. One of the guys at band runners camp like sponsored me to run my first 100 and helped me out with it and stuff. And yeah, it was just an amazing connection that I left with. I left with so much more than just knowledge. I left with a family, a friendship, like just so much. It was amazing.
Thank you for sharing that. Let's take a step back. Let's step into the camp here. I think that's a really good segue to you, Liza. So when someone comes into your camp, what happens? Give us an overview of sort of where they stay, who the mentors that you have there, which is just an all-star list of people who are giving their time, for a really great cause. And then what are the things that, you guys teach at the camp and what you do? Kind of just walk us through all of it, starting with the people that come and volunteer their time.
Well, yeah, we do have an all stars list of folks who come to help out. It's wonderful. No one's ever turned me down for camp to come out and help at camp, unless they have like some conflict with their schedule, and then they ask to be asked the next year. So it's been wonderful, and I've got to meet some wonderful people. Like who would I like to know in the ultra running community? Then I just ask them on out to camp. The goal with camp initially was like, hey, we all learned about ultra running by going on long runs with people who had been ultra running a while, and they would tell us the mistakes that they made and what they learned and give us their suggestions. And so then it was like, well, okay, well, we have these 3 or 4 days. We can't run people straight for that. Like it'd be lovely if we could just go on a group run and then it would all organically happen. But that was not feasible. And so basically, we'll go out for blocks of runs, and there'll be some ideas, intentions with those runs, like, hey, we're going to talk about uphill running or downhill running or technical trail running or trekking poles, during that piece. Just a lot of teachable moments, like, oh look, you've fallen into a cactus. Here's how to remove cactus parts. and then break it up with classes that focus on pieces of knowledge that are imperative to have to successfully trail run. So things like blister prevention and care, environmental emergencies, how to sleep well, racing nutrition, running nutrition. And so basically it's like a block of running, a class, a meal, a class, a block of running, rinse, repeat during those days. And so we break up into 4 groups based on kind of fitness and experience level. And then the ratio of mentors to campers is, well, sometimes it can be a little bit ridiculous because once somebody comes to camp to help out, they don't want to not come again. So this year it was a little bit mentor heavy. But usually we have about 1 mentor for every 4-ish campers. And so it's kind of like how many people can you effectively talk to on the trail at one time? So it's
Hmm.
like 3 or 4 people you can have a conversation with. And so that was the intention with kind of that ratio. Yeah.
And how many runners do you guys host per year on average?
Somewhere between 40 and 50
Wow.
folks will come through. Yeah. We
And
like to
how
keep
did,
it small.
go ahead. How do
I was
you,
just
how
gonna
did,
say, like we just like to keep it small just because it has, well, we could host more people. It loses its feeling of closeness and family the bigger
Mhm.
it is.
And can you name drop just some of the mentors? Not that you're playing favorites here, but
No,
can you share with us who some of those mentors are?
yeah, over the so Pam Smith and Megan Canfield, Corey Waltering has been with us these past couple of years. In the beginning, we had like Max King and Sage Candidate came, Scotty Sandow, Angela Chartel. I think let's see, Darcy Pugh was there in the beginning. We've just had Megan Hicks comes and helps us, Eliza LaPierre. Like, yeah.
Wow. Wow. What's that like for you, Adam, when you come into camp and you've just got these stellar elite athletes there, sharing their time and their, more importantly, their knowledge, um, with you all?
Well, like I said, my first year there, I didn't know who any of them were. So I didn't.
Great.
It was kind of nice. Like you didn't know, which and then you left camp and you kind of figured it out, and that was a bit. There was almost a debate the past year at camp on this because it's almost better that way because then you get to see who these people are, you relate to them, you realize how humble they are, and then after the fact you get to find out their accomplishments and like in that order it's more of like, oh wow, like you have an established relationship and then all of a sudden you get to be like impressed and you're like, wait, I'm friends with that person. And that's pretty awesome. Now being a mentor and seeing like Corey Waltering was there, that was cool. I mean, I fanboyed that because he ran the Ice Age Trail here in Wisconsin, and I don't know, I have like this crazy goal to try and beat his record, but yeah. So I mean, now it's really cool because I do understand who they are more, and I get to understand them even better and pick their minds more, and yeah, they're so willing to share that knowledge. It's awesome.
And I'll just say, like, that decision was for sure intentional because, we always talk about like our community is we're all staying together at the start line and we're all ultra runners or trail runners. And at the finish line, we're all ultra runners or trail runners who have finished a race. And so it's really intentional that there not be any sort of division because some people are faster than other people. And I should say, like, those are the names that, that are easy to toss out, but the people like who are, and those folks are particularly, like they are good. They're there because they're good at sharing what they do and teaching. And we also have folks that nobody's heard of who are incredible. Like they're the people who taught me to run on trails, and who are like, race directors, kind of the pillars of their communities, coaches. We just have this incredible group of folks who are really effective teachers.
Um, so who are everyone has their own story. Their why is different. Each and every one has their own why they run, why they choose ultras, why they show up to your camp. Um, can you kind of share, is there like common thread with a lot of your campers who come in terms of their why they come to your camp?
That's a good that's a good question. Um, the fellow on our team who decides who will be coming to camp, his name is Rob Van Houten. He is incredible and spends a lot of time talking to people about their why for coming to camp. I think that there are a lot of folks who come, like Adam said, not knowing what to expect exactly. You know, it's really important that we stay that the goal of the camp is that we teach people how to run safely and effectively on trails. Like that's we're trail runners, right? We're not mental health care professionals, and so it has to be like just this. And so I think that a lot of people, and of course, all these other things happen, right? Like, of course, it's good for your mental health. And of course, being part of this community is huge for that. But our goal is like, hey, like you're able to plug into your local community and you know how to go train and how to stay like warm and dry and well fed on the trail. Like that's what we're here to teach you. And so I think that there's a big group of folks who are coming, you know, with that, like, oh, it's a trail running camp. And I think there are other folks who are coming feeling maybe at kind of loose ends, like maybe a bit disconnected further from their community. And there's a huge chunk of folks who know somebody who came to camp and had an amazing experience, and they've said you should go. I can't tell you exactly why, but
Sure.
you know.
How about you, Adam? What do you hear among your fellow military veterans?
Um, so it's funny. I've brought in people myself. I've brought in two people now. And the first one, he got interest in it because I was his employee. He was a retired Air Force. I was his employee at the time, and he is such a kind man. He was like, "Let me crew you for one of these races. I gotta see what this is." And by that, I was able to get him the bug, kind of, and I got him to trail running camp. And so I would say I don't know. I don't know. Everybody has the common thread, yes. But I would say the best part of what they do at camp too is Rob and how he'll put us in groups. Because like each group, I think, because of where our abilities, our love, like we're all kind of in the same we all share the common thread because of our abilities. We're like, I don't know that I would share the same thing as somebody in a lower level because we're just at different points. But also, I don't know. Yes, everybody does still share that common thread. Again, it's the veteran side of it. It's just by being a veteran and knowing that other people there, um, that is your common thread, I guess.
Right. And for you, Liza, when you initially set up this camp, there's no guarantee that folks are going to sign up for it. It's, you have your hope of what it can be, but, when you look back now at just, you're pulling 40 to 50 runners, a year now, you know, what's that like? Just to see this growing. You saw a need and you went for it.
Oh gosh, it feels like, yeah, it's wonderfully satisfying to feel that we found a way to be useful, right? Like all the people who were involved and who make this happen have found a way that seems like it has an impact, and that, while this is a very small thing that we're doing, that it matters to people. And so just, we talked this year at camp about this idea that small acts do matter. And so for us, showing up once a year, and we do other stuff as well, but but this camp in particular has an important impact on people's lives, and how grateful we are to be part of that.
hmm Adam, you mentioned that this camp helped prepare you for your first 100. Um, and I'd like to hear from you. What were those takeaways from camp that helped you meet such an amazing goal for yourself? So let us know kind of what you learned that helped you get across that finish line, and then let us know which race did you sign up for?
Um, well, so my goal first 100 mile was Superior 100. But it ended up being Kettle 100. And what I learned was, I mean, and it wasn't what I just learned at camp. It was also the resources I took away from camp because, like, you meet Joe Yuhan, who's a
Yeah,
physical
that's
therapist.
right.
Yeah,
I forgot.
you,
Joe Yuhan comes. He's
he,
amazing.
who's also an accomplished runner, but also a physical therapist and very good at like coaching form and things. And so at camp, he helped me with my form. And then after camp, he continued with giving me different stretches and just tips and advice, especially because he knows Superior 100. So he knew that was my goal race and he kind of wanted to help me with that. Um, then there was things that I learned from Pam Smith. She was talking about running her 24-hour race and how she would just go up to an aid station and just put stuff in her mouth, and whatever tasted good was kind of like her body's way of telling her that's what she needed. Like, if you put salty chips in and they don't taste good, you don't need salt, but if they taste great, you probably need salt. Just different things like that, little things. Go slow, that's a good one. um just I mean, carry a garbage bag, you might get cold. And there's things that I learned that I didn't do, like carry a light. I didn't have a light when it got dark. And, my first 100, I ran pitch black in the woods for quite a while. That sucked. I had a cell phone, and I was barely making it work. Um, but yeah, it was just great. And I had the team behind me too. Like, even though they may not have been part of my crew or they may not have been there in person, they were there in the background cheering me on with text messages or just messages of don't forget this and that. And, it's just so much. Oh, blister
Mm-hmm.
prevention.
Mm-hmm.
Once I got over 50 miles, thank God I had blister prevention because up to 50 miles, I never had foot problems. After 50 miles, it gets a little sketchy. But, we have trail toes. They actually gave us a jug of that the first time, and I haven't stopped using that yet. And yeah, just so much. There's just so much you learn.
Can you talk about the camaraderie that you get from your fellow service members?
Definitely. Well, and actually, that's kind of Liza brushed over something real quick. She's like, "There's other things we do too." I would definitely say the other things play a big factor because we do like the Badger 100 here in Wisconsin, southern Wisconsin, and that's huge because I love seeing those people every year. Like that, it excites me because I live in Wisconsin, so that's huge. But and I've been asked to do some pretty cool stuff there. I've gotten to pace Liza. I've gotten to pace CJ Van Houten, who put a course record in there. Like I've done some cool stuff with amazing people from Band of Runners. And then once we're done, because we're done before everybody else, because they run so freaking fast, we turn around and we go support everybody else. So it's just the coolest. You know, it's it's seeing the person finish first, but then it's hanging out with that person until the last person crosses the line. And Band of Runners is usually the last people at that line. It's awesome. It's so great. And we're all cheering and we're all excited. And our I don't want to brag, but our aid station is definitely the best one. Like people come in and like we're they're like, oh my God, like we take their stuff and we fill it and like they don't have to do anything. Like there's yeah, there's not just love and support between ourselves as military members, but there's love and support between the community as a trail running community.
Mhm. Um, Liza, what's your hope for a first time camper? Um,
That they don't get blisters, Scotty. I don't. It's our first class. I offer prizes. No, what's my hope? My hope is that they leave camp feeling like that if they have questions, they have people that they can contact, people that they have questions about trail running, that they have people that they can contact who will be happy to hear from them. That there are no barriers for them going and volunteering at a race. They feel like, welcome to do that. Like we've given them like, okay, listen, it's just peanut butter and jelly sandwich making. Like here, one of the things that we do is we do this skit that all the mentors take part in and they act out poor trail etiquette. And then the campers are coaxed to stop them and yell, hey, that's not cool. And then they'll say what the cool thing to do would be. So I hope that they leave camp knowing how to be a good member of our community and
Uh-huh.
what to say to people who are perhaps not acting as good members of our community. That is one of my favorite bits of camp because the acting from these people is incredible. Um, and so,
It
uh,
sticks because like when you're running, I mean, I'm sure I thanked volunteers before I went to camp, but after I went to camp, I make sure I thank volunteers. I like, yeah. And then as I'm running, I think to these people, you need trail etiquette class. Like, you've got to learn. Like, there's so, yeah, it's the best.
yeah,
Um, I think one question that I'm dying to hear the answer about is for you, Liza. What's up with the squid hat?
listen, if you want to get a large group's attention, you put a squid hat on. And if you can change up the squid hat during the course of, say, a couple of days, like they're going to keep looking at you. That's what I'm not tall. I'm not that tall. I got to do what I got to do. Yeah. I have a lot of pictures of me in a squid hat. And it's one of those things where once people think like, oh, she likes squid hats, then people send you squid hats. So I've got a closet
How
full.
many squid hats do you own, Liza?
I have four squid hats, which is probably three. But yeah. Um, yeah. So it's such a joy to be part of this camp, and we just all feel so grateful that we get to do it. And so the other thing that Adam was talking about is we're showing up at like our next kind of step is to be present at races, and so to support band of runners folks who are running, but also to volunteer there and support everybody who's running. So we run an aid station at Scotty Coomer's race, Badger races in August, and then we're here at the Task Trails races at Bandera and Rocky Raccoon. And then two of the other mentors in Virginia, we go to their races and help them out. And so the next kind of step for us is being present at more and more races, volunteering and also running. And then this year, we were able to raise enough money to have 20 of the folks who came to camp get coaching for 6 months. And so we have various coaches in the community, getting paid nothing almost,
Mhm.
and doing this. So pretty excited about that.
What kind of feedback have you received from previous campers who've gone on to continue trail running?
I mean, I think like Adam said, like a lot of people are appreciative of the kind of nuts and bolts information that they got from trail camp. I think that, and no surprise, like most people are just very grateful for the entrance into the community. Like, people in our community are wonderful. And so to all of a sudden just be kind of like, like, hey, here we all are. we're ready to be friends. Let's go do stuff. I think that people feel, yeah, just this kind of sense of relief and happiness. And yeah,
Have you received feedback from folks who've gone on to achieve goals that they thought, you know, were just beyond their limits?
oh yeah, and that's lovely for sure.
What kind of feedback have you gotten regarding that?
Actually, glad to answer my question. We've had folks who have done ultras, and I mean, we do have folks who come into camp who like, they left the military and they stopped doing any sort of physical activity, and so they're just getting back into being fit again. And so we have folks who are super excited about, like I am hiking now every day, or I'm thinking about doing a 5K, all the way to folks who maybe have been running for a long time, but maybe haven't been doing trail running, or maybe haven't been doing the distance, and so are taking on new distances and are excited to share that kind of thing. That's all awesome, and certainly the intention that they have these abilities to do that. But I think that the feedback that's most meaningful is people being excited to share that with the people that they've met at camp and the mentors, and it just feels like, yeah, like we are all striving together, and you're part of this great striving now.
Mhm. Um, and I mentioned at the beginning of this episode that you offer this at no cost. Um, so can you tell us a little bit about that? And then ways that people can get involved, either with time or with money.
Yeah, so the camp itself costs nothing. And the campers pay for their travel down here to Texas, unless that will be cost prohibitive, in which case we can go ahead and cover that for them. Um, and we're all volunteers. My husband and a couple other folks, person in the kitchen, and cook. We had this year; it was wonderful. We had my husband, who's an educator, our friend Henry, who's a retired judge, and our friend CJ, who's a surgeon, a transplant surgeon. They were the kitchen crew, cooking for 100 people at camp and doing an amazing job. And so when people donate, everything is going to bringing folks to camp, covering the cost of the food, covering the cost of the camp and the travel and things like that. And if folks would like to donate, then go to bandofrunners.org. And it's easy to do it there. Or another option would be Scotty Coomer is putting on the world's longest turkey trot again this year. It goes from Chicago to Milwaukee. It's about 100 miles. And all the proceeds from that will be going to Band of Runners this year. And so he does it to commemorate a dear friend of his who died from ALS, with ALS. And this year he's giving us the proceeds. So if you don't want to go to Chicago or Milwaukee, you could just do it virtually. And all the entrance fees will go to Band of Runners.
Way to go, Scotty.
Yeah. And
That's
so
great.
awesome. It's going to be awesome, except I am participating this year. And it's on Black Friday. And I got to say, I don't know about leaving South Texas at the end of November and going to Chicago and Milwaukee. But I'm going to do it. And so if you'd like to follow along and maybe donate to Band of Runners, that would be great. So yeah, there is that.
What I like about the donation factor on your website is that you can actually sponsor a military service member or veteran to attend. And there are other different stages below that. If you want to, sponsor their food costs for the week, for the time that they're there, etc., which I just think is so great. Um, Adam, will you be participating in the world's longest turkey trot this year?
You
No,
know,
we
I
won't.
have been
Will you, Adam? No, no, you won't.
I have been eyeing that up for years, but my
Oh,
wife doesn't love the idea of running after
yeah, neither does my
Thanksgiving.
husband.
Yeah. So this year, I thought Liza's running it. This is my year. I'm going to have to do it because she's there. I bought Polar Express tickets and they are that night, and I'm
Blah, blah,
not missing that. We're getting on a real train and they're acting out Polar Express. I'm so excited.
if anyone in the Chicago and Milwaukee area who wants to join, please come on out. It'll be great. It's a wonderful thing. I was going to ask you one more thing, Scotty, about the camp and donating to the camp. Oh, I know. You asked if there are other ways besides money. Um, yeah, if you have huge social media skills and you want to help us out, please contact me. I would be happy to talk to you about that.
Yeah, I'll put your contact info in the description of this episode. But if someone is just jonesing at their computer right now or their smartphone, what's the best way to reach you?
They can just go to the contact in bandofrunners.org and I'll get to me.
Okay, very good, very good. Adam, what are your long-term goals or short-term goals right now with your race calendar?
Well, I don't want to stop at 100. I'd like to keep going. I've, Adam, I just want to keep going. I would like to also run the Ice Age Trail at some point. But as far as it goes, I'm just kind of taking in life as I can. It's a big juggle. I have a young family. I have my own business. I also would like to start putting on some races. I want to do more with Band of Runners and do more with Bigger Than the Trail. So it's really a lot to juggle. So I'm just kind of figuring that
Uh,
out. But I'm just going to keep going, and I just want to keep pushing my limits. That's kind of my thing. I've been fortunate to podium on a few things. That's awesome, but I just like seeing how far I can go and how quick I can do it, and just pushing things in different ways.
You mentioned bigger than the trail just now, and previously you said that that was kind of the impetus that got you into the Band of Runners organization. Can you tell us more about Bigger Than the Trail, what it's all about?
Yeah, definitely. So, Bigger Than the Trail is a 501c3 company, nonprofit. So we do a lot with trail running, well, with the trail running community, essentially, because the founder, he was a trail runner, and he saw kind of a need in the trail running community. So it started out of that, but became so much more, to the point where now, if you go to bttt.org, um, you can get free counseling by applying, and they'll offer you 3 months online counseling for free, just to anybody that needs help, and that's kind of the goal, is to shine the light on mental health and just spread awareness, and I think a lot of people that trail run kind of suffer. I think a lot of us maybe start out for the wrong reason. We start out to punish ourselves a bit, or to like escape. Um, and hopefully over time that changes for you, because I know for me personally it has. When I first started, it was more of like well, it was both those things. It was escaping but also punishing myself, and now I do it for the joy, and I get to be out in nature, and I get to test what I can do and how far I can go, and what I can handle mentally.
Yeah. And what does being out on the trail, what does that, how does that affect you in just daily life?
Well, it's like meditation, right? Like especially, I don't listen to music, I don't do any of that. um But so one is, it's a bit of a meditation. You're kind of zoned out and you're just concentrating on each step and the breath and all that. But what I've done more lately is I stop and I take in those moments when I'm out, because especially as a trail runner and somebody I, I'm rather capable person. So, when I'm 4 miles out in the middle of nowhere, stopping and taking a moment to take in that nature and that beauty and that silence and just that peace, and then being grateful for it, gives you so much, and it makes you grateful for so much. And I think also doing hard things just makes the rest of life a little easier.
Mhm. Um, you know, uh, what is what's your message to any fellow veterans out there who may be considering uh, participating in this camp?
Don't be afraid. I know, my first year I was afraid to go, and so much was stacked against us. Like our car broke down, and like we were having a rough week, and but my wife pushed me to go, and I went, and it was the best. Don't come with expectations, just come with an open mind and be willing to take in what you get. um yeah, yeah, definitely, just be brave, come to it, and you'll enjoy it. I mean, whether you just enjoy the running part, you'll get something out of that, or whether you'll I know you'll get something out of the community part, but I guess I'll say for sure you'll get something out of the running part.
Yeah. And how about you, Liza? What's your message for anyone out there who is considering participating in this camp?
You should click the registration link, because Rob will contact you and he will let you know that you will find a place at this camp. And it will be something that you value after you come. And so yeah, you should go ahead and do that. Costs you nothing to hit that little registration button.
Costs
Literally
nothing.
nothing.
From the moment Rob contacts you, you're gonna be like, "Oh my god, who are these people?" Because Rob himself is so amazing. Like,
Really
he's like all of a sudden your best friend, and he's calling you out of the blue, and he's like, "How's it going, man? Like, you excited for camp?" And you're like, "Why are you calling me?" But he's just amazing. He's such a good guy. So yeah, right from the moment you hit registration, you're gonna be blown away.
Before I let you both go, and thank you both for sharing your time with us today, do you have any parting thoughts about the camp? Let's go with you first, Adam.
Um, just go. But then also, Liza, thank you. I mean, I tell you this a lot. I love you, and it's amazing. I've been to be part of this family, to wear. I wear these shirts with such pride. It's awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
Um, I think I would say three things. One, I was being a little flip about Scotty Coomer's race, but because of my fear of being pulled. But we're super grateful that he's doing this for Bando Runners. He is amazing, and we're very
he,
grateful to be part of
he
it.
also does the quick trip thing.
Yeah, like Scotty. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
people with the name Scotty, and so I'll segue there. Thank you, Scotty, for doing this. Like it's really helpful for us to be able to get the word out. And so I guess one parting thing is just like, hey, if you know a veteran or surviving family member that might benefit from being, part of this community or going to adult camp, then, then let them know about this. And for sure, you can buy a T-shirt, and it has our contact info in a fancy QR code on the back. And so that's another way to support us. And then yeah, to anybody who's listening who has like skills where you think, oh, I could do this for you, well, go ahead and contact me. That'd be great.
And just to be clear, the age restrictions. I mean, you could just anyone who's former military
Yeah,
can register.
the older the better. We're not getting younger. We're looking for some World War II veterans. We got you covered.
Adam, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. But more importantly, thank you and to you and your family for your service to our country. We're just indebted to all of our service members, current, active, and former, just for stepping up and answering the call for our freedom. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Um, and to you, Liza, for taking a step forward with just into the abyss of the unknowing, but seeing a need out there. And it's like if you build it, they will come, and they are coming year and year and year again. So if I hope that people one are inspired to register and participate in what would just be an amazing experience. But two, if you're inspired to start your own, um, you know, organization to help people, whether it's our military, our veterans, people who just kind of need little extra support. I can't think of any community better than the trail running community to step up and say, "Come join us." There's plenty
Agreed.
of room for everybody.
Agreed.
All right. Well, guys, thanks again for your time. I appreciate you both so much.
Thank you.
And yeah, take good care of yourselves and good luck. Liza, to you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Pack your long johns.
My hand warmers. I'm just gonna like stuff them on.
And I hope to see you in your squid hat soon. And Adam, I hope that we cross paths someday at an event. I'm sure that we will.
Oh,
But yeah, keep at it. I'm so proud of you.
thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
You got it.